All right, guys, we got a special guest today on the Hyperfast Agent Show. This guest started in real estate in Oregon at the age of 19. By year two, he had 150 listings. By the age of 24, he started his own brokerage, opened up 17 different offices, and grew that to a business that he sold in 2006. Next, he became a speaker for the National Association of Realtors, became a trainer, wrote several best-selling books, has been on CNN, tons of radio programs, tons of national media outlets, training and talking and speaking about real estate and the market. And most recently, he got back into the real estate game, became a broker owner, opened up one of the fastest growing, largest brokerages in the state of Oregon. This year, his company is going to do $1 billion of sales. Welcome to the show. I'm super excited to have Mr. Jim Rimley. All right, welcome to the show, Jim. Thanks for coming on. I'm super excited to have you today. Before we dig into all the different topics we're going to get into, because with someone with your background, there's a lot we can talk about. Why don't you give our listeners just the real quick backstory on who you are, what you're doing, how you got there, all that good stuff.
Sure. First, thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here. I got in the real estate business when I was 19, so I've been doing it since last year. Just kidding. I was very fortunate. Second year in the business, I took 150 listings, got listed top 1% of agents nationwide. I decided to become an owner at 23, so I opened my first brokerage at 23, and we grew that to 17 offices. We're the largest independent brokerage in the state of Oregon. Sold that, got really lucky in 2006, right before the downturn began, and spoke for the National Association of Realtors for 10 years. And then I've, over the last, most recent 10 years, I've been running a company in Southern Oregon, down the southernmost part of the state, Medford, Ashland. We've got 160 brokers. We're on track to do $1 billion in sales this year.
Wow. I mean, that's just an amazing ride. Just to recap, you started your own company, became the owner at age 23. Did I hear
23.
That
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
Yes.
I mean, that's just amazing that you did that at such a young age, and it just really shows, I think, the opportunities in real estate. I mean, a lot of people haven't even, gotten their first job by that age nowadays.
Right. It's true.
Owning the entire company.
Yeah.
So talk to me about that. I'm really interested in what caused you to do that at such a young age, and what were the challenges, and were you scared?
Yeah, all of the above. So I'm a guy that's driven by achievement, and it's not necessarily for me about the money, although I want to make a bunch of money too. But for me, just going and kind of making money, I needed something else that was going to be fulfilling on a different level for me. So that's why I decided I wanted to open a company and see if I could help other agents kind of replicate what I had done and try to coach and help other agents to grow. So that's kind of where I was coming from. But it's like what you don't know is what you don't know. I had no idea how hard it would be to open and run a real estate company. I just thought everybody thought like me and they don't, right? And so I was very naive in, how easy I thought it would be to help agents grow their business. I had to learn that everybody's not me, and I had to coach them in a way that they could be coached to hear what I was trying to say to them. But what I think the biggest challenge for me was I started with me and one other guy and our assistant. So it was two of us staring at each other. And what I learned really quickly is that I needed to learn how to recruit and retain agents. And really the only way to recruit agents was to go out and start having conversations. And what I found was the hardest thing for me in terms of recruiting agents was that I felt like it was like, what do I say to them to encourage them to come to my office versus where they're at now? And I had to figure that out. Like, why would they come to work for me over someone else? And I finally figured out that it was only one of two reasons was going to motivate them, which is either they're going to make more money or I'm going to make their life easier. And I always try to sell them on both. And we were successful. I mean, we ended up being very successful recruiters.
Yeah. What specific techniques did you use? So I hear the overall strategy, like sell them on, I'll save you time or make your life easier. Sell them on making money. But like, how are you getting that message out to the agents that were joining your firm?
So you have to build a culture of excellence, I think, first of all, at your own company. People don't join crappy companies, right? So they want to join a company that's like movers and shakers and that they feel like there's an excellent culture at. And a lot of times it comes down to they're measuring where they're at against where they might go, which is your company. And so they look at, are they more fun? And in our culture today, we still are heavy recruiters. We do social nights every single month with our crew. We're taking them out. We're having drinks. We're inviting their family, and we make family a big part of our organization. So that's a part of it, right? Is really connecting with them on a personal level, not just a professional level. And then we do the same thing. We recruit the same way we sell real estate. We recruit by referral. So it's a whole different kind of recruiting. Most recruiters are just pounding agents, on their doorstep at night, every way from Sunday getting to people. And really that turns people off. It's like you're a vacuum cleaner salesperson or something. You're just coming at people way too hard. I look at it more like I am treating every realtor as in the entire MLS system as someone that I might want, but I might not want. And the only way I know is through my agents telling me that I should recruit them. So what I say to all my agents is, every time we have a closing, I give them a sheet and it says, would you like to work with this person? Would they be a good fit for the company? Do you mind if I give them a call? And they'll fill that out every time. They hand that in to me. And then I call them and I say, hey, I just want to say, Jackie said, you guys had a great transaction over on 3rd Street. That way it's relevant and timely. And there's a sense of like purpose to the call. She said, you guys had a tough negotiation on that refrigerator. Congratulations, you got it done. Sometimes those things are tough. But the reason for my call is I wanted to see, she recommended that I give you a call and see if we could get together for coffee or lunch and I can tell you what's going on at my company, and see where you're at. And most of the time people will say no, but about 20% of the time they'll say yes. And it's all timing. You can't it's just like prospecting. You just got to let go of it. And the key with it is the longevity. For me, I just recruited an agent last week in my company that I had called the first time 10 years ago. 10 years to get to close with them. Sometimes you can close them in a month, sometimes 2 months, but it can sometimes take a year to get a top producer, like a $50 million producer that's been at their company for 20 years. They're not going to move overnight. You got to stick with them, and you got to be the better alternative. So those are some of the things that I do. It's all by referral. They got to look at you as like, this is the place I want to be. And what happens is, if it doesn't happen today, what happens is at some point they get a level of dissatisfaction with their current brokerage. Something will go wrong over here, and the grass will suddenly not be as green. And you're going to always be green. You're going to always look like, man, they're on the cutting edge. They're having fun. Something's going on over there. And that's 90% of it too, is waiting for the right opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great strategy, I think, or technique. I really like that one. So, I think if you're running a team or a brokerage out there, that's an easy one to implement. Just every closing, ask yourself if you're the transaction or, doing the transaction, or if it's your agent asks them like, hey, is this the type of person that you want at your company? And,
we also did closing gifts to other cooperating agents, and closing gifts to a cooperating agent is an interesting technique. It gets sent to the company, so they open it at their company. Like, what's this? Oh, I got a bottle of wine.
I like that one.
That's cool, man. A bottle of wine from these guys. This is great.
I bet there were some owners and team leaders that
they hate it.
Didn't like it.
They call me and say, "Stop doing that." I said, "Okay, I'll stop doing it. It's all right, whatever." How about I send you a bottle of wine? Why don't you come over to work for me? You'd be surprised at how many people I recruited at the top level too. that would see this going on and they just don't want to compete against it. They just get tired of the war. Another great technique too is when you recruit any new person into the company, there's a downline from them, a chain of people behind them that is at their company currently that they just left that are prime targets. And so I wait about a week and I just douse them, with a lot of attention, which we do at our company anyway. All the bells and whistles they're going to be amazed at what we're doing. And then about a week later, I'll say, hey, are you enjoying the experience? Are you glad you came over? And they'll say, yes, it's amazing. It's fantastic. Say, hey, do me a favor. There's quite a buzz that you've turned up here. Everybody's loving that you've joined us. Is there anybody at your other company that you left that would be a good fit for this company based on what you've seen so far that I could reach out to? And then you go back and you call those people at that company and you say, hey, we just had Jan just joined us and she's loving it over here. And she mentioned that you were a great agent that she loved working with. Any chance we could have coffee? Those are great warm meetings. And I've had a lot of recruiting success. I've actually closed down companies as a result where I've recruited everyone out of the company.
Wow. Well, yeah, I love it. I mean, a lot of good advice in there. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah. Of course.
But, you mentioned culture, extremely important. So when you first started this, it was just you and an assistant and one other person, and it grew from there. At that size, I think a lot of people can wrap their heads around culture and family. But as you grew to this thing to over 100 people, like how did you maintain that same culture, family, close-knit feeling? Because it's different doing it for 5 people than a couple hundred.
Yeah, the crazy thing about that is I think it's easier at a bigger scale than a smaller scale, because how many times can I go to beers with the same person every month? We're already best friends. So, I mean, it's not like we're doing anything special there, but when you get to scale, what we do is we try to make the company feel smaller than what it is, because one of the biggest recruiting complaints we get is you guys are so big. But when you work at the company, it doesn't feel that way. And the way that we make that happen is we do these social nights. That's a key part of it. But we also do other things. We do a big event every year. It's our client appreciation event. Last year we had 1,800 people in attendance, and we rented out this entire huge facility. We brought in a live band. We brought in food trucks. We bring in beer and wine. And what we say to every agent is we say, listen, we are going to and let you invite 10 of your best clients and their families, of course, and with no cost to you. It's going to be free to you, and you're going to be the hero. You're going to be inviting these people to this amazing, incredible event. It's special. Not everybody gets in. Only your 10 best clients, and that and their families. And that creates such a sense of like, I am part of something special. I'm part of something that no one else has. So that's another example of what we do. Another example of what we do is we do a lot of training events where we bring in high-level trainers just for our group. Again, it creates a sense of exclusivity. So we've had, everybody from Jared James out speaking to our group, and we're kind of tiny town out here in the middle of nowhere, 80,000 people, but we're doing a lot of business. So we bring in high-level speakers, and we do what's called a kickoff every year. Kickoff is to kick off the year, kick off the season. And these events are really team building because they're intense. We don't rely on the MLS or our franchise, even though we're a member of a great franchise. We make these things localized to our company. We don't make people travel. We bring great content to them. So those are things that we do as well. We also have great staff. One of the things that separates our company is we have 18 full-time staff members for 160 agents, which is per capita, it's huge. And those staff members do a lot of different things that other companies don't. We have 2 full-time marketing directors that have degrees in marketing. So they help. It's like our own in-house marketing team. And we charge for the services. We always try to get cost neutral, so it's not costing our company anything. But the value add to these people is huge. And they go, wow, I cannot get this at any other company. It feels so special to have this. And I feel so privileged to have this. We also did something a few years ago, which was, I think I was the first person to do it in my community. And I keep hearing that no one else is still doing it in a lot of communities. And I put a technologist into the company. And this is a kid that was just super technology orientated. And he does nothing all day but help people with real estate technology in our office. Just walks around the office, no charge. And that's one of the biggest things that's been a great recruiting tool for us, is having that technologist. It became so popular we hired another one. So we have 2 technologists now. But those kinds of things where you're really helping agents scale is huge. It helps build a culture of excellence.
So you're using your scale and size then to give them more service, make
exactly
life easier.
Mm-hmm.
And then are you mixing in kind of like, you talked a lot about these bigger events you do and things, but then you touched on it briefly that you got like monthly things, or are you personally, at a smaller level, like connecting with people in just more kind of casual ways, or how does that look?
Yeah. So on the monthly things, people say, what do you do every month? That's a lot of stuff, to manage. We have an event coordinator, one of our staff members. So we do like, we've done the kart racing. We've done, of course, going out to local breweries, going out to the baseball game. We have a local baseball team here. So we'll go out, we'll rent a big pavilion there. So that's what we do on a kind of a monthly basis. We've done river rafting together. And those are all super great team building events. And every single time we do a social night like that, the family's invited, not just the team member. So all the families get to know each other, and it becomes very much family oriented. But on a one-off, what we do is every Thursday, I've set aside Thursday afternoons for lunch. I take either a agent to lunch or a group of agents to lunch. And that's me just having personal conversation with people individually. And getting to know what's going on in their lives and what's happening with them personally. And that's, through the course of a year, you can actually do quite a few people. I mean, 52 weeks in a year, and maybe you're working 48 out of those weeks doing that. And I try to do 2 or 3 sometimes together. We can do a lot of it, it does help a lot.
Hey, that's a great point. We'll get right back to it. But first, I wanted to talk about a problem that so many real estate agents are facing. In fact, nearly 90% of agents are facing this problem. And that's the problem of going out of business. And then most of the ones that do are still struggling. They're struggling to get the results they want. But look, it doesn't have to be that way. I know, because it wasn't that way for me. In my first year in real estate, I sold over $22 million in real estate volume. I wrote about it in my best-selling book, The HyperLocal Hyperfast Real Estate Agent, but I wanted to do something more for the industry. That's why I created the Hyperfast Accelerator program. Now I know what you're thinking, not another coaching program, and I get it. The problem isn't lack of information. The problem is who to actually trust, who to believe. And most professional coaches never even sold themselves. So whether you're selling 10 homes and want to get to 20, or you're selling 20 homes and want to get to 50, we can help, right? We've done it. I've grown my team from 22 million volume to now over 400 million in volume. It's one of the top real estate teams in the country. This is what separates me from most real estate coaches. Like, I'm still in the game. What I'm gonna teach you in this program is stuff that's actually working today in my business, all right? What would your life look like if you sold just 1 more home a month? If that's something you're interested in, if you want to get those types of results, click on the link in the show notes or go to bit.ly/hyperfastcoach and sign up for a free discovery call. And look, we don't take anyone and everyone, all right? The problem with most real estate coaches is that they do, right? They try to cater to the masses. So we only take a few people on purpose because we want to provide highly strategic, individualized, personalized service to help you get the type of results you want and achieve your goals. Click on the link below, sign up for a free discovery call, and I'll see you soon.
So you're able to cycle through and see most people in a year at that?
Most people that want to see me. There's got to be some agents that are, lone guys and gals that just don't want to do it, and that's fine. Whatever. They're not into it. But the people that want to meet with me get to meet with me, for sure.
Awesome. Well, let's talk about teaching real estate agents. And you mentioned it sounded like you went out and for a few years had super success on your own. Then you wanted to create that success for other agents. And I know from running a pretty big team, not quite as big as yours in number of agents count, but there's challenges with it. Not everyone thinks like you. Not everyone's motivated the same way by as you. And I'm sure someone like you that's doing 150 listings, like almost right out the gate, you tick a little bit differently than most real estate agents. So like, what were the challenges, you had when maybe you recruit an agent and they're not hitting the numbers that you thought they could, or like, how did you, handle that?
I've changed a lot over the years. One of the things I learned over the years is I can't necessarily always hire a reflection of myself, because I'm like an alpha. We're sharks in the water. We're just going. But not everybody's like that, and it doesn't have to be that everybody's like me. But there is a path to success, and in sales, the path to success is we have to lead generate. We have to go on appointments. We have to convert. We have to close. We have to incubate. And there's some steps there that have to happen. And I don't expect everybody to work like me, but they have to work a pattern, a system. And so I learned something. I taught a class in Australia for a convention there. I was speaking there to a group of super high level agents and brokers. And I went to dinner with the ownership there, and they talked about the difference in Australia versus the difference here in how they approach coaching agents. And it was really eye-opening for me, and it completely transformed how I do coaching with agents. And so the way that they operate in Australia, which is interesting, is when you come to work as an agent, you're basically an employee. And all you do every day is you're on the phone making calls. You make 80 to 100 calls a day, and you don't get to go on any of the appointments you set. You're just making phone calls for 6 months straight. And if you cannot cut that, you're cut from the team. You're out. After you get through the first 6 months, then you become a junior agent there. And as a junior agent, when you set an appointment, you're still making the calls every day for another 6 months. But as a junior agent, then you get to go on an appointment with a senior agent, and you split that deal, right? So once that 6 months has passed, then if you survive that, then you graduate to being a senior agent, and you get the benefit of those people making calls for you. And you're still making your own calls with your sphere of influence. But what it teaches these agents is, you have to make calls, and you have to be on the phone. You have to be networking. You have to be doing your job to be successful. So what we do at my company is we do what's called a daily dashboard. And I do this with my coaching students as well. Now, we don't make you do 80 to 100 calls, but we are watching what you're doing. So we do a daily dashboard, and what it is, it's a worksheet. And they record every single thing that they're doing through the day. And every week they send it to me on Friday, and they tell me, here's everything I did for the week. And what we're measuring is not outcome. We're not measuring how many appointments you set, how many escrows you created, how many listings you did. We're just measuring what it is that you actually did in terms of work. Because I know that the outcome will come if you're doing the job, if you're doing the work every day. And so it's been a really interesting way to rethink, how we approach this process. And we call it our daily dashboard, and it's been very successful. Because you got to get people focused on lead generation. Everybody wants the shiny object. Everybody wants leads handed to them. They're always in search of some Facebook lead generation tool or Instagram lead generation tool. All the young agents are trying to be influencers, thinking that's gonna, drive success. And the reality is, it's one-to-one conversations.
Yeah.
It boils down to, you've got to be having conversations. Every single transaction I tell these agents you're going to ever have in your life will come from a recent conversation. And, the old school is still the new school. Every 30 conversations you have, you'll average one closed sale, period. And I don't care how those conversations started. The genesis could have been a Facebook lead. It could have been an Instagram lead. It could have been a Zillow lead. But at the end of the day, you got to be having conversations. So that's, the foundation of everything we do is you got to be having conversations every day and setting networking meetings. So that's what we're doing.
Is that dashboard required of all the agents in your company?
No, only new agents. So okay. Agents that start with me, I say, this is your first 90 days, every week I want to see this. And if I see you're getting off the ground, I look at it like an airplane. If they're starting to get traction and they're getting lift in their business, and I see their trajectories are getting off the tarmac, after 90 days, I'm going to be okay to trust them if they can't do it. If I start to see them cycle down, I'll say, what's going on? Let's get you back on the dashboard, right?
And by
experience, yeah.
By new agent, do you mean completely brand new, or just new to your team? Like with the $50 million producer that you took a year to recruit, would you?
No, I wouldn't make them do that. Okay. Because they've already figured it out, right? They're already producing. But you'd be surprised at how many times I will have a $50 million agent come in and do coaching, but that's a whole different level of coaching. And I have some of the best, two of the top two agents in my company are doing $60-70 million a year, and they still come to me. I just had one of them come to me the other day and said, Jim, I lost on 2 listing appointments back to back. I lost. And I said, what do you think went wrong? I said, first of all, who'd you lose them to? He said, a brand new agent, both times, brand new agents, less than a year in the business. And I said, when's the last time you updated your listing presentation? And they said, 5 years ago. I said, that's it right there. What you got is these millennial agents come in with a tablet. They've got these beautiful presentations, and they're destroying you because you're still using a book or something,
Right.
that's antiquated.
Dynamic advertising and all the new stuff, highlight.
Yeah, it's fast, it's cool, and so you got to stay up with the trends. You can't, you can't rest. If you haven't changed your business in the last year, you're probably on the way out.
Well, speaking of that, you were in the industry, as an owner at an early age. Then you sold, were on, teaching and speaking, and then you got back into it.
Mm-hmm.
What was different the second time around? Because I'm sure a lot, changed for you in that time period, and same with the industry, of course.
Yeah. What's changed, I think, a lot is, teams. When I started in the business, teams did not exist. So now you have teams that are really dominating the industry in many ways. And so it's from a brokerage standpoint, you have to look at it kind of holistically. So if my whole company consisted of teams, I'd be out of business, right? Because it doesn't financially work with just having a bunch of teams. You might as well just let them go out and have their own brokerages, right?
Well, that's what we did, actually. So we were one of the top Keller teams, and we broke off in 2014, and we have a brokerage that's basically for our team now. And
right, there you go.
60 people as agents on the team, and
yeah.
So I've definitely seen that trend increase.
Absolutely. I mean, and for a large team, a lot of times that makes total sense to do that. We have 10 teams that work with my group of those 160 agents. So it's a lot of teams, and you have to adapt your business model for a team environment. And a lot of brokerages and a lot of agent owners have not got that mindset. They don't have this mindset like, a part of my whole brokerage needs to be teams. I mean, it's just going to be the reality of the business. And if I don't have that set up, I'm not going to be able to really compete at a high level in the industry, because just the way that teams are much more efficient in a lot of ways than individual agents in some cases. But you also can't have just all teams. So that was my learning process. I had to say, how am I going to adapt a brokerage structure to having maybe 20-30% of our agents be in a team, and the rest be individual agents and partnerships and so forth. And that, it was commission structures, looking at that and making it financially work for them and for the company. And also building websites that are team friendly. We help agents build just simple things like their communication tools. Like our tech team will help an agent build a one phone number, one email system for their entire team, so that when they're going out to talk to clients, they can call one number and there's a tree behind it. Of one email, there's a tree behind it, so that it gets routed correctly. Those are the kinds of things that we work through with teams to help support them. And that's you got to have those things in place for sure.
What's more fun for you as the owner, like getting the new agents or the solo agents, or bringing on a team?
Both. For me, it's always about, I like to bring in an agent that has been at their company a long time, which is super challenging. I've recruited people that have been at, Coldwell Banker for 28 years, for one of our top competitors, Windermere, for, 30 years. So I've done a really good job of breaking people out of where they're at, but it takes time. It's time, it's consistency. And it's a slow process, but it can work. It's just like, I liken it a lot to working with a for sale by owner on the agent side. When you're working with a for sale by owner, if you try to come in there and try to close, like hard close, you're never going to close those people. They're going to bail the other way. But if you come in there and you're just consistently with them over the 4 to 6 weeks, you're going to nail them every time. I mean, I work with hundreds of for sale by owners, and that was something that I really specialized in. And I think it's very similar on that side.
That's an interesting thing that was like one of the first, things that popped in your mind, comparing, then versus now, is the rise of teams. What other trends do you see differently when it comes to like marketing and lead generation? Of course, the technology and the platforms are a lot different, but like, what are the biggest, differences, between?
So I think what happened, even in the 10 years, there's been this whole evolution with online leads. So, online leads, even like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, when there was 5 million transactions happening in the country and they were selling 5 million leads through Zillow and Realtor.com, when you added it all up, that was actually a really good deal. I mean, you got a really good high quality client usually, not always, but a lot of times. But now, I just saw the latest trend. I had the Realtor.com rep come into my office and pitch us on Realtor.com leads. And they told me this. They kind of reported on themselves that there's 140 million leads that'll be sold to agents this year, still with about 5 million transactions, right? So even in that period of time, in the last 7 years, what you've seen is this exponential growth in number of leads. But the quality of leads has kind of gone the exact opposite. They're getting worse, not better. And so it's a big change. Now what's about to happen is, so we had a lot of agents get lead dependent on Zillow, and I had one of my top agents come to me, and they were looking at their business model last year and said, Jim, what do I do? I said, let's look at your ad spend, $6,000 a month going out in Zillow leads. And I said, let's measure this back on the ROI. There was a negative ROI there. I mean, it wasn't working for her. And I said, really what you're becoming is a Zillow employee. And you are becoming somebody that works for Zillow, and that's what you are. And buying leads is a path to expense. You've got to look at how else can I get to leads? Because what if they cut you off tomorrow? And I say this to every coaching student. If Zillow cut you off tomorrow, where's your business? And if they say, oh my gosh, I don't know what I do, you don't have a business. Zillow owns you, and they can do whatever they want to you. And the same would be true of any online lead system. So you have to say, well, what can I do about it? You get control of your own leads, right? And you know where your business is coming from. Number one way, of course, is your sphere of influence. I mean, no doubt. And it's amazing to me how many top level agents, even people doing 40, 50 million, $60 million in business, still don't have control of their database. So that's a big part of my coaching platform, is helping them get control of their database. Another agent that I coach up in Washington was one of the number one spends for Zillow. And she was $20,000, $30,000 a month, and decided to cut it off and said, I'm stopping, and took all that money, that $20,000, $30,000 a month she was spending, and went to direct mail. Direct mail, by the way, is something that's old school that people should really start thinking about again. Amazon did direct mail last year, which is really interesting. So she took that $20,000, $30,000 and had like a 3x rate of return on her investment over what her Zillow spend was. She got a much, much better return on her investment. And that's where agents they've stopped measuring that because they don't want to know. But the other thing that Realtor.com shared with me was that nationally, there's a negative 32% return on online leads. So then you say, well, what's
is that all sources or real?
All sources.
Is that like Facebook?
Zillow,
is that everything or?
No, it's just Zillow and Realtor.com.
Okay.
So negative 32% return on your investment. So when you spend 100, you actually lose 132. And that's the national average.
The leads are just that bad, or do you think it's because agents don't follow up? And I think a big problem is they're good at maybe converting the 10 to 20% of leads that want to buy now, but if that person wants to buy in 6 months or 12 months, they don't have the systems or the place.
You nailed it. I mean, that's exactly it. I mean, every agent wants the now, like I'm buying in the next 30 days. And what happens is the top teams in the country, guys like you, have systems in place where they incubate leads over a long period of time. But those people are operating at in best case scenario, because I've talked to some of the top Zillow lead trainers in the country, and they said best case scenario, best teams in America close at a close rate of about 3% of all the leads. So you get 100 leads, they close 3. I mean, that's the average, right? Best teams.
Zillow or Realtor.com.
Yeah, Zillow, Realtor.com. That's like the best practices kind of measurement. But most people aren't that way. I mean, most individual agents that are buying leads are just not that good. So they may go down to a 1% close ratio. And if they're spending $100 per lead, it's pretty much they're going to lose money, no doubt about
Right.
it. It just feels good to them that they're having the lead flow. But here's what's interesting. Realtor.com, this is happening this year right now. In fact, Zillow's conference was yesterday. One of my agents was down there. Zillow has announced, they made this big announcement that they are now going to change their model to being a referral-based model. They're not going to sell leads anymore. And they are going to go after and just sell. They're going to go referral, which is exactly what Realtor.com has already done, because we deal with this with Realtor.com. So bottom line is, it's going to be with Realtor.com and Zillow, between 20 and 35% referral fee. So what they figured out is the money is in actually going deeper into our pockets and taking 35% of every closing out of you. Because they're seeing that the lead bomb has already gone off, that everybody's recognizing these leads are so low quality, everybody doesn't want to buy them anymore, and all these top agents are bailing out. So it's very interesting.
So they're kind of trending towards that, model that Realtor.com adopted when they bought OpCity, where they're gonna maybe incubate it more, have their own team, call it, and then give it to you as a warmer lead. But now you've got to give up a third of the transaction potentially.
Yeah, and what's interesting about that is, you're right. They're going to do what they know agents are terrible at, which is consistent follow up and follow through. So they're going to go in there and fix that problem because they know agents are terrible at it. But they're coming at it from a starting point of 35%. You got to ask yourself again, where is it going to head? Once they take control of this lane, this follow up lane, they've got control of leads. Now they're going to expand that to follow up. What's the next evolution of that for them? You just don't know, right? So that's, again, back to my point of, you cannot be a Zillow employee. You've got to get out of that mindset, and you got to say, I've got to take control of my own lead gen, and I've got to take control of my own follow-up, or I'm basically losing control of my business over the next 5 years. So I've got to take control, and I got to build my own systems to do that. Yeah,
it's almost as if you're going down the path of almost becoming a showing agent, or like
exactly
like a Redfin type,
right?
Agent, where you're gonna do 50, 60, 70 transactions a year and maybe not crack 6 figures of income.
Right, that's exactly right. That's what exactly. It's like an Uber driver almost. Who's making the money there? Uber. You're becoming like the next Uber driver, kind of. When you're just kind of offloading all marketing to these big companies like this, these big giant tech companies. Another site. Yeah, go ahead.
Are you steering like all of your agents or coaching students away from Zillow right now, or?
With my coaching students, I recommend you spend no more than 10% of your marketing budget on Zillow. So if you got a marketing budget of $100,000 a year, which some of my top teams and coaching students do, then spend $10,000 on Zillow. Just have a small spend there, but not 50%, not 60%, not all your marketing spend. We got to focus you in on what really is going to make the most money and have the best rate of return, which is sphere of influence marketing always. And we do other things too. We have a lot of we encourage definitely to own a great website. We encourage Facebook marketing. We encourage your own Google ads. We talk about HyperLocal a lot. Clients, this has been studied a lot, and people that are the buyers that are out there prefer to work with a local real estate company and a HyperLocal agent that knows the neighborhood or that knows the city, and they will always trend towards that. But in order to compete, you got to have a great website, you got to have a great mobile app, and you've got to really, really deliver on those fronts and be visible. You got to be visible on social media, on Instagram, Facebook, everywhere else. But you combine those factors, you can still win. Like we win big at my company by doing that, by being really hyper-local.
All right. So you said sphere of influence marketing is really big, for you, for your agents that you coach. What does that actually look like? Or is it direct mail? Is it gifting, events? Like how do you do it?
So it's a mix of things. You definitely got to hit people 9 to 12 times a year, as we all know. And some people would argue that it's got to be even more than that, based on the bombardment of advertising messages we're seeing every day. So definitely events are going to be something that we do at least once a year, and this is a great time of the year to do it. Not with your entire database, just with your core people. I would call it your A's and B's, people sending you referrals or have done direct business with you. You're going to invite them to that. And so that's a great event. One of my friends, Janet, does a really fun event. She does a mixer, but she does it as a mandatory +1. And this is a great idea. She does it actually every month. And so, because it's one of her #1 marketing tools. So she'll say as to her favorite people in her database, hey, we're having a mixer this month over at, and she'll have it at a brand new restaurant, brewery, whatever. But you have to bring someone that is one of your family or friends or something to the event. So every month, and she buys drinks, by the way, she'll buy one drink and she'll buy appetizers for everyone. Then it's just kind of a networking event. But now she's meeting 20, 30, 40 people a month that she would not have met otherwise. So not only is she connecting with her sphere, she's also building her database extremely rapidly with people that are socially, economically in the same strata as the person that's in her sphere already. It's a brilliant idea, right?
Yeah,
so
I love
that's
that
one.
idea. That's a great one.
Yeah, it works. And then, of course, I've got an agent that works for me, Steve Thomas. I just recruited him. $17 million in business in his second year. And when I first recruited him, I said, Steve, how did you do all this business? I mean, what was your secret? First of all, he doesn't have great social media. He doesn't have, he's getting better since he's joined us, but not great. Didn't have a great website. He just did this through networking with his sphere. And so what he does is he makes 60 calls a week. So this is another part of the mix, right? Making calls. But when he's making these calls, he's identifying, is this somebody I should go to coffee, dinner, drinks, lunch, breakfast with this week? And then during those calls, he's setting an appointment every single day. So he's doing basically 5 networking meetings every week. And that led to $17 million in production his second year in the business. And if you just said, that's all my spend right there is just taking people to lunch, coffee, dinner, drinks, it's going to be far more powerful than almost anything else you could possibly do. It's so effective. But another one is Renee Spahn, one of my agents, has she calls her VIP club. Her VIP club is brilliant. And she does this. She goes and she says to her entire database, hey, I'm creating a VIP club for people that send me a referral this year. So our VIPs are going to get invited to special events. They're going to get special gifts. It's going to be a really special, fun thing. So, please think of me when you have a referral. Then every time she gets a referral, she hand delivers a beautiful gift and takes a picture of it, Instagrams it, Facebooks it, puts that on social media. Just had another VIP join me. They did this by referring me this client. Thank you so much. If you want to become a part of the VIP club, send me a referral. And then she'll do events for VIPs. So she'll have a special event again at, she might buy 10 tickets to a concert and have a VIP section. I'm with the concert. I'm at the concert with my VIPs. We're having a great time. Wish you were here to become a part of my VIP club. So that's, some of the things that we encourage is, really getting creative and thinking about this. But another thing that agents aren't doing, which is really, really important in terms of visibility, is you got to be using video. You've got to be using video with your database. And, of course, you've got Facebook and you've got Instagram. If you really look at those core audiences that, you're friends with, all of your sphere of influence should be a part of those audiences. And that's one thing I coach to is everybody that's in your sphere on your Instagram feed, is everybody on your sphere on your Facebook feed. And then you should be doing 1 to 2 videos a week to stay top of mind. It's almost as good as you talking to them, but you're doing it at scale. You're talking to 10,
right?
Not just 10 people, but 100 people or 1,000 people at scale. And that's huge.
Yeah, I love all of those ideas. The one common thing they have, I think, common thread, and sometimes this baffles me that people aren't doing more of it, but they all pretty much don't cost you that much money.
No, very little.
A little bit of time, like the one agent you mentioned, 17 million year 2, by having 1 meeting a day. So that's probably like an hour or 2 of calling a day and an hour or 2 of meeting someone a day, or
right.
not every day, but five days a week. And that led to $17 million of volume, which is, probably very, very high margin business for them. So it's probably, I'm guessing, netting like 250 or plus or minus. I don't, but somewhere close. And if someone told you like, hey, there's an industry where you go get a license in about a month, right? Take an online course or correspondence course, get your license in a month. And by year 2, if you spend 2 hours a day on the phone and 2 hours a day meeting people, you'll make $250,000, which is going to put you in the top 1-2% of all earners, in the nation. Like, people wouldn't think it's real, but it is. And there's examples all the time. And it's people that aren't natural born sales leaders and people that are just putting in the time and not giving up because it doesn't work the first week or month or 2 months.
Absolutely. It's so true. I mean, it's so true. I like, Gary Vee says, put your head in the clouds and your nose in the dirt. This is just grind, you're just grinding through it. And the interesting thing is here, we're not digging ditches. I mean, we're not really working that hard.
Right.
I mean, having lunch with someone is pretty easy to do, right? And just having a conversation with people is so easy to do. One of the things that agents sometimes struggle with when I'm coaching them is they sometimes struggle with, how do I ask for a referral? I mean, what's the concept behind that? And I always say, it's easier than you think, because everybody wants something, right? If you're in business, you want more business. If you're a part of a charitable organization that you're passionate about, you want some help with supporting that. So I always say, lead with their need, lead with what's going on with their lives. What can you do to help them? And if I'm sitting across the table from you, I'll say, hey, what's going on with you, man? What's new with you? What's going on with your business? I want to send you more referrals this year. I feel like I didn't send you enough last year. I want to send somebody to you. Who's your ideal client this year? Tell me about that. And I'll get into what's all about them. And the natural reciprocity of that will be, oh, well, how can I help you? And so that's the conversation. If you're helping people, they're going to start to help you. One measurement I give to all my coaching students is this: how many referrals did you personally send out last week? Did you send to other business owners, salespeople, entrepreneurs in your community? That inverse number is probably how many you received, because almost everybody will say 0. And I'll say, well, here's your problem. If you want referrals, you got to start sending referrals. You have to be a referral machine and be somebody that's out there pushing, always directing, always being the connection point, and that will come back to you, right? And that's such a missed opportunity for most agents.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's just like you said, putting your nose down in the dirt, grinding, becoming that hyperlocal expert and connector. So much value in that. And it's really, I mean, anyone can come in and do this. And you're not, we're not talking like 5 years, 10 years. This is like, be like a year 2 thing or even shorter. Right. And just not enough people get past like the first week or month or take that first step and do what you said there.
Yeah. One other agent I just interviewed who works with my coaching plan, Sky. She's a great agent. She has 125 people in her database, did $10 million last year, and was 80% referral based, all that business. So sometimes agents will come in and they'll say, Jim, those agents that are at the top, like $50, $60 million, or even $10 million, they must have, 500 people, 1,000 people, 2,000 people in their database to generate those numbers. But that's not true. You can get a tremendous amount out of even a small database if you're working it right, if you're working it properly. And so people that are brand new think, oh, I got to have this massive database. Not true. You can create a lot of success even out of a small database.
All right, Jim, we got to wrap up. But before I do, I want to do what we call the hyper fast round. So I'm just going to ask you a couple questions and
sure.
give us your best rapid fire answer.
Okay.
So number 1, what was the biggest challenge you overcame in your real estate career?
My biggest challenge, I started when I was 19. So my biggest challenge was my age. And people have looked at me like, I was a little kid. So I had to overcome that. And the way I overcame it was being really competent and really knowing the numbers on my market and really being the smartest person in the room when it came to the market statistics. Because if I could come across really knowledgeable, people forgot my age.
All right, what's the biggest mistake that you see real estate agents make today?
I think it's shiny object syndrome. They're always chasing some secret path, some secret magic bullet, instead of just, buckling down and making contacts and doing the hard work. That's the biggest challenge for the agents.
All right, best piece of real estate investment advice for real estate agents.
Oh, I can give you this. The best piece of advice I got years ago when I first got in the business, old broker Sam Scardy. He said, Jim, the hardest way to make $1 million in this business is selling it. The easiest way to make $1 million in this business is owning it. And I never, ever forgot that. And so for me, I always coach everybody that I talk to. You need to buy one real estate investment every year you're in the business. Statistically, you'll be a millionaire at year 10. I mean, that's just a given fact. At year 20, you'll be a multimillionaire. But you've got to be consistently buying one property a year.
And then are you coaching them to hold it or flip it?
No flippers, man. Buy and hold, buy and hold, buy and hold. You can flip another one if you want to, but you got to buy one to hold.
Gotcha. All right. Well, this has been a great show. Tons of great advice. Thank you so much. You offered, just so many different things that new agents, experienced agents, team owners, brokers can learn from. If people want to get in touch with you, connect with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
So the best way is to go to my coaching website, which is eRealEstateCoach.com, eRealEstateCoach.com. And when they hop over there, they're going to see we've got a ton of mastery classes they can take, one-off classes if they just want to take a class on open houses for sale by owner, sphere of influence, ton of classes. But if they want to get involved in a weekly coaching and become one of my coaching students, we have something called The Path, which is my coaching platform. It's $97 a month, very expensive, one of the least expensive coaching platforms in the country. And they can do it for 2 weeks for free. So we give them 14 days to just jump on, try it, see if it works for them. And they can experience it.
Okay, so that was eRealEstateCoach.com. eRealEstateCoach.com. We'll put that in the description on the YouTube version of this. And if you're listening on podcast, it'll be in the show notes. Thanks a lot, Jim. This has been an amazing show.
Thank you, man. Appreciate being here.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please give us a thumbs up, hit that like button, leave us some comments. We want to know your feedback, and share this with someone that you think could benefit as well. And if you want to see more great videos, click this playlist up here, or better yet, click right here to subscribe and turn on post notifications so you don't miss any of our updates.